and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I am Deborah Gilbert, your host, and thanks so much for being here today. I greatly appreciate it. Well, we have another terrific show for you today. We're going to highlight Virginia Woolf, an actress who I think that you will love getting to know. And Ginny, thanks so much for being here today. So great to have you.
Thank you, Deborah. What a treat.
Yeah, it is a treat to have you. So thank you again for your time.
Sure.
Well, I know the viewer will be very interested in getting to know you. Why don't you tell us about yourself? Tell us about your background.
My background, well, I fell in love with acting when I was about 10 years old, doing a neighborhood play. That pretty much set the seed, and I've been I like to say I've been an actress all my life. I was very active in high school and in college with theater, and then I chickened out of being a theater major, so went into advertising. So I would say I was acting all the time, I just wasn't on stage. And finally was able to get back into the theater world after raising a family when my youngest was a junior in high school. And I always knew I would come back to it, but I also knew I'd be a terrible wife and mother because I love it so much that I wasn't going to be able to do everything as well as I wanted to. So when I came back strong, I guess.
Did you know when you were young, a question that I like to ask all the time, that pursuing an acting career was something that you thought that you'd be doing?
It was, yes. I always said, when I was going to be an actress when I grew up. And I think it was more when the practicalities of it showed their ugly faces when I was in college. And I didn't think I had what it took to head off to New York and try to make it in theater. I didn't have the financial support I might have, some people might have, whatever. And I don't know that I had the chutzpah or the experience, even the life experience. I'd had a very happy childhood and wasn't used to much, difficulty. So I think I made the right choice. But now that I'm older and wiser, I'm really enjoying using all the experience I've gained in the ensuing however many years. I took a break and bringing it back to the theater now that I get to do.
Now, you have mentioned that you are back in the theater world. Tell us what you're doing now.
Well, I know, post-COVID, or we're not quite post-COVID, but I really, back when I decided to tiptoe back in, first I thought, well, I better get some training and make sure that this is that I'm as good as I hope I am. So I started classes at Hartford Stage. They still have a good education department, but back when I worked with them, they had a very strong adult education department. And after the first class, I was like, yep, this is what I want. And I took classes probably for about a year and then thought, well, now it's time to start auditioning. And started auditioning on a community theater level and got cast, which was really fun. But in the meantime, I did a lot of volunteer work, and I was working with the Stanley Whitman House here in Farmington, and Lisa Johnson, the director there, had written a play about Mary Barnes, who was one of the last people hanged for witchcraft in Connecticut. And I was born in Salem, Massachusetts. I didn't know anybody else had much of a history of witchcraft, and it really piqued my interest. So I started researching what went on in this state and back in the 17th century, and ended up writing and producing a one-woman play that brings to life 5 women who were accused of witchcraft in 17th century Connecticut. And then I had this play, and I had to figure out, now what am I going to do with it? Well, if I want to market it, now I need a website. So I started my own theater company called Her Story Theater, and it ostensibly began with telling the stories of little-known women in history, including the women who were accused of witchcraft here in Connecticut. I wrote a second play about Katie Leary, who was a maid to the Clemens family, Mark Twain's family, and I portrayed her at the Mark Twain house. I do that on occasion. And then projects started coming my way under the production company of Her Story Theater, many of them having to do with women in history, Jane Pierce, Camille Claudel, but then other really fun projects. So I sort of morphed into a producer as well as an actress, and I'm trying to find the right balance to keep me happy and satisfied on a theatrical level, on an acting level, and but it's just so exciting to produce theater. And I know that I'm not a director, so whenever an idea comes my way or I have an idea, I try to pull together the talents of friends that I know will help make it fly. And it's been great fun. It's been quiet for the past 18 months, but everything's picking up again.
Well, you're mentioning COVID and the pandemic. How has that affected your world and the industry in general?
Oh, well, everything screeched to a halt. So I think last March 2020, I probably had 4 productions I was performing in, and I was producing a couple of other things, and everything, boom, practically overnight stopped. And that was also, not that I make a ton of money, but that was an income killer, certainly for Her Story Theater. But things are coming back. They're getting rescheduled, and which is very exciting. I'm glad to see that happening, because on a, not just financial, but on a creative level, people would say, oh, well, I'm taking this time now to find my passion. I was like, I have my passion, but it's been ripped away from me. And I didn't know how to replace that. I thought that I would learn how to play the ukulele. So I started lessons with that. But really what I ended up doing was learning how to produce some Zoom theater, which meant also learning video production, and just trying to keep things going and keeping my actor friends busy as well. I established a Her Story happy hour. So once a month at 5 o'clock, we did a Zoom theater reading, something fun, and had people be in front of their computers drinking a glass of wine or whatever. Just trying to stay creative and trying to keep the ball rolling and stay engaged with everything while we waited through this long intermission.
One of the things I didn't want to miss, which you had mentioned earlier, is education. And I have many people that are pursuing an acting career or the industry in general. Do you recommend workshops, university auditions? How does somebody get started?
Well, yes, I think having local in-person training is wonderful, and the Hartford stage classes were great for me. I met a lot of, I got involved with the theater community and met a lot of people that way. But I have to admit, also through COVID, I started doing online classes and followed the Atlantic Theater Company. They are doing some wonderful ones. Their particular this theory of acting, they call it practical aesthetics. And it's something that really speaks to me, the training that they offer. So I've been doing a lot of online classes with especially Karen Kohlhaus, who teaches practical aesthetics. She does monologue workshops and scene study and all of that. And that's also been a lot of fun, just something to grab onto. But I do really recommend that to anybody studying. The more people you can expose yourself to, the more you can learn from people that have more experience than you, the better an actor I think you'll be.
Now, you have also mentioned technology, video, Zoom, etc., with the arts. How has it been dealing with technology?
It's a learning curve, certainly. I never heard of Zoom before March 2020, as I think probably most of us are in the same boat in that respect. But I found if that's the way we had to go, that's how I was going to go. Certainly did some theater on different platforms. There's one called StreamYard, and there's another one I did. Zoom for me became the easiest, and I ended up working with a company in New York on the stage, which I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. They're ostensibly a ticketing and marketing company, but they also established a streaming platform and have been incredibly helpful. They sell tickets, they do social media, they put together your website for particular shows, have the streaming basis. So I learned an awful lot when it came to video editing and mixing and all of that. I'm not really good at it, but I think people are very kind when it comes to this new way of doing theater. None of us are very good at it, but we work hard at it and try to make it happen.
For the website herstorytheater.com, what will the viewer find when they come to visit the website?
Well, right, they'll find a lot of information on the shows that we have done in the past. Normally, I also like to have a running tally of things that are coming up, but again, that's a little sparse right now, and that'll be building. We have a. It's actually kind of funny. Through the years, as I said, I'll take on fun projects, and through the past, I think 10 years. Every Christmas we've done It's a Wonderful Life, the live radio play by Joe Landry, who's a Connecticut playwright. And this year I went to get the rights and I wasn't able to get the rights. And it turns out that Hartford Stage, wonderful theater in Hartford, is doing it. So instead we're doing A Christmas Carol, a live radio play. So we'll be doing that up at a vineyard in North Granby. So that's on our website. But other than that, yeah, it's been a little hard. My witch show, just because I do it in small enclosed indoor places, I haven't been marketing it terribly hard, and people just aren't having their meetings and gatherings the same way. But it'll pick up. 2022 is my year, I swear.
Well, that was my next question. Do you have some thoughts as to your plans for 2022, 2023?
Whoa, well, I just hope things will grow. I mean, a lot of the productions I was part of are being rescheduled, which is wonderful. We're doing a play, The Mystery of Clara Cloud, up at the New England Air Museum, and that was supposed to have happened last weekend. But because of the mask mandates, we chose to postpone it. So I know that things like that are going to come back. We're already rescheduling for next year. Some of my witch shows are being rescheduled. You know, I go into the schools, but we kept that, you know, I don't advertise the school performances, but, and I'm looking forward to auditioning again. I love to audition. And it's just been really sad. I find it so energizing. So already the theaters that are beginning to announce their seasons and their auditions, and of course, it's all with a little asterisk of hopefulness that we'll be able to do this, that things will get more and more safe and people will become more and more comfortable. But I can't wait to audition and hopefully get cast in some fun shows that are coming along. Just letting the world open up again. That's what we want for 2022 and 2023. And I'd love to start taking classes in person, whether it's in New York or locally, whatever's being available. Just getting back out there.
So you're mentioning auditioning. Are you talking about auditioning for yourself? Will you start to perform?
Oh, yes. Yes, I sure hope so. I mean, you can have all the plans you want. You need to get the role, but there are some bucket list roles that are out there that I know are being planned. So, yes, me auditioning and hopefully getting cast and doing some fun theater, whether it's comedy or drama, whatever it might be. I love it, and I think if you talk to anybody who likes to be on stage, it makes, I shouldn't say it makes life worth the living. That sounds a little bit dramatic. But it brings the sparkle to life, to have something like that, to be creating a character, living another life in another world on stage. Brings me great joy, and the interactions with other people. The one-woman shows are great, but I'm all by myself. I'm driving to them, I'm marketing them, I'm writing them, I'm all by myself at my computer. So getting out to rehearsals and being with other people is just complete joy.
Well, let's hold that thought. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned into Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Get it.
Get it.
Get it. Get it.
Get it. Get it.
Is she gonna get it, Daddy?
She'll get it. Get it. Get it.
When you bring home a Goodwill find, you give your whole town a reason to celebrate, because you're also funding local job training and placement programs in tech, healthcare, and more. Goodwill. Bring good home.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I am Deborah Gilbert, your host, and we are featuring Virginia Woolf as my guest today, who is an actress. And Ginny, I know that you have a radio program. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, Deborah, it's a lot like what you're doing on television, which is kind of fun. I have a radio program called Spotlight Reveling in the Arts and Entertainment, and it's on WLIS and WMRD, one of the few individually owned stations. We broadcast out of Middletown, but of course, we broadcast from our home right now. And it's every Thursday at 12:30, and I think you and I have a lot of overlapping guests because I do reach out and cover. Because my love is theater, I probably tend to have a higher percentage of theatrical guests, but just whatever's going on in Connecticut in the arts and entertainment, because we're so lucky to live in this state that is just thriving in that respect. But yeah, so half an hour, Thursdays at 12:30, a different guest every day, and like every week, and like you, I can devote the entire show to one guest, so you can really get into some of the nitty gritty and really talking things out. It's great fun.
What are your thoughts as we get into 2022, 2023 about the industry in general? I know we're coming out of COVID. Do you think that things are going to start to change and we're going to start to be able to sit in the theater again?
I do. I think it's going to be slow, and I think that's the toughest thing for theaters is how to balance your year, and you don't quite know what to expect from audience, how much of your revenue is dependent on putting bodies in the seats. But I know I'm on the steering committee for the Connecticut chapter of the League of Professional Theater Women, and last night we had an event talking about producing in the time of COVID. And everybody is cautiously optimistic, as am I, that it's going to come back. People do want to go to theater. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but everyone is going to weigh what they consider the risks of going and sitting in a theater. I haven't yet gone to Broadway, but I've been to the Good Speed, and they have an empty chair in between each party. You have to show proof of vaccination. You have to wear your mask all the time. And if people behave and follow those rules, I feel pretty comfortable sitting in a theater. And if I can be part of a show where everybody's vaccinated, I feel pretty comfortable. But, there's lots of horror stories of, somebody tests positive for COVID, things get shut down. They were talking about Aladdin, I guess. They had 15 people test positive for COVID, so everybody had to shut down. So I think, but they're learning how to pivot even there. They've said it all along, that you're building the plane while you're flying it, and I think that's a really good analogy. But I do think people want to get back to theater. Both performers and audience members want to get back to theater, and they're going to feel safer and safer as numbers get better and we all get more accustomed to following the rules. It's worth it. It's worth it to keep everybody safe and healthy and to keep moving forward.
You have mentioned something that has been important to the viewer is the League of Professional Theater Women. Okay. And I did have them on as guests and as a show, and it was just terrific, and I'm still in touch with them. And good. I know you have mentioned that you are part of that organization. Has
Yes.
it been a good thing to be a part of an organization? Do you recommend it to the viewer?
I absolutely do. I mean, it's the League of Professional Theater Women, so you do have to have some kind of a professional bent to be part of it. But our programs are open to lots of people, to anyone, basically. And they're really very interesting. So probably the best thing right now is the Facebook page, and you can see what's going on. Not only do we have our own events, but we're all about supporting women in theater in Connecticut, throughout the world, of course, but in Connecticut in particular. So we make a great effort to make sure that we're helping to advertise and promote anything that's going on with our members or just with women here in theater. And I've enjoyed being part of it. It's funny because they are professional. I consider myself professional in that Her Story Theater is my theater company, but I'm not equity. I haven't really lived that world, so I straddle the two worlds, and it's very fun to see how they can meld and come together, this professional world. I don't want to say a level above me, because I don't believe that's necessarily true, but it's been a wonderful group to be part of and a nice window into that more professional life. But I think I also bring a really realistic point of view of theater as well. Sometimes people can get caught up in well, I'm not equity. I'm not with the union, so I can't, or I'm not. And I think there are talented, wonderful people all over the place, and whether you're equity or not, you can still have a full life of theater, that's for sure. But yeah, it's a great organization. So I highly encourage, if anybody who is qualified to join and help us with this mission. But also come to the programs. They're really fun. Last night was fascinating. We were at the Westport Country Playhouse, and we listened to Carol Schweib talk about play with your food and all the issues trying to produce under the strictures of COVID, and we had a great time. It was so informative. It was really great.
As you are an actress, my potential viewer who is pursuing an acting career or thinking about it is probably thinking about the audition process and stage fright. How has that path been for you? Do you have any tips for them?
Oh, I think you need to take the energy that you might consider stage fright and really use it. And if anything, use it to go big. Don't be intimidated and be shy. When you're auditioning, make bold choices, and a director wants to see that you're brave. He or she can always pull you back, but they want to see that you can take a character and you can make choices and you can be clear-cut about what you think this character is thinking, doing, or whatever it might be. I love auditioning. I mean, I love getting cast after auditioning, but I find it such a challenge and really energizing to just be there, and it's not even a competition. And you also, the other thing is, you just can't take it personally when you don't get a part. There are so many things that go into casting, and I've done a little bit of it, not an awful lot. I don't like to say no to people, so I try to stay away from being in that position. But the times I have, oh my goodness, your talent is only one small part of the whole thing that goes into casting a particular role. So don't take it personally. Just be sad for a moment, dust yourself off, and say next. That's the best way.
You have mentioned also the producer role. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? What happens when somebody is pursuing becoming a producer? What do they need to do?
Well, you need to do just about everything. I think that being a mom, having two kids, really helped me in my producing life, because I feel like I'm always prepared. I'm the one that always has the Band-Aid when something goes wrong. That also has been a learning curve for me. But now I'm in pretty good shape. As Her Story Theater, I invested. I bought my music stands. I've tried to create the theater company to be very portable, but also to have everything that we need to put on a show, and that's worked out really very well. But there's a lot of moving pieces. Each time I start, I learn something more. Probably my most challenging thing, I had a friend who sadly has passed away, but he had written a musical, a very involved musical, and we knew he didn't have much time. Chris Weed, he wrote this fabulous piece called The Resurrectionists. And so I said, you know what, would you like to have this done as a concert version? And he said, I would love that. Do you know how to do this? I said, no, I have no idea, but I know we know the people. And sure enough, we pulled it off. We auditioned and had music directors. This was completely new to me, but being able to do that, being in a capacity as a producer, to offer that up really less than a year before he passed away, was something that I'm really, really proud of. And I'm really glad that I had the capacity to make it happen. So quite often I look at myself and I said, well, yes, I just want to be on stage, but look at the stuff I've been able to do. Look what I can do. And I'm not having to audition for that, which is nice. It's me putting myself on stage and not having to rely on someone else. And there's a little bit of fun in that.
Well, we are starting to run out of time, and of course, the viewer is always the most important part for me with this program. Do you have any closing thoughts for them? Any advice?
I just, you know what, get out there and support the arts as much as you can here in theater in Connecticut. I mean, especially the theater. I'd love for you to support Her Story Theater. Log on to herstorytheater.com. Come to a show if you're interested in being part of something, and get involved. Get involved with your community theater. Right now that things are coming back, if you feel safe and you feel that you would enjoy it, they're the best people. It's so much fun. It's so involving. Everybody's doing it with such passion, and that's just energizing, and it's addictive in a way. So do that.
Well, Ginny, thanks so much for being here today. It's been such a pleasure. I greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you, Deborah. It's been a pleasure to be interviewed instead of interviewing. I'll have to have you on the radio show. That would be great fun.
I would love to do that. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Sure.
Well, everyone, thanks so much for being here. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You have been tuned into Arts and Entertainment. Hope you have a terrific day today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.